emotions of her experience.
For a child, they will many times blame themselves for the experience ending. They'll think, well, I was a bad child, or what did I do wrong? Did I say something wrong? Why did all the people go away? Why did all the light beings go away? Where are the bright ones? Did I do something wrong?
Atwater's long-term studies have shown that a high number of the children questioned were prone to drink or drug addiction later in life. A high proportion attempted suicide. Their experience has been too disturbing for them.
The number one complaint that the children made was, I lost my childhood.
She thinks it's difficult for them to stay on Earth once they've looked into the eyes of death. Nadia McCaffrey was one such child. When she was 7, her life changed forever. Out playing, she was stung by a poisonous snake.
I felt this enormous pain on my left ankle. And I stopped, of course, froze, and I knew immediately what that meant. I knew immediately that I was facing death.
For 10 days, she struggled for life. Finally, the doctors gave up hope.
What happened was I left my body. Look at it, I was not interested by that at all. All I could see was this beautiful light. This beautiful, powerful light, so full of love.
She says she met a heavenly creature made of light who spoke to her.
She was very, very clear on saying, you will not die, but I have to leave now. You cannot come with me, and you have a lot of things to do. You have to go back to life.
Against the odds, Nadia survived, but she was changed. She no longer felt like a child and says she suddenly developed uncanny powers.
I could hear some people's thoughts. I could feel people's pain. I could hear their sorrow. It was a torture. But I couldn't talk to anybody about it. And the only person really I trusted to talk to this experience was my grandmother. And when I told her, when I explained what happened to me, she looked at me and she very seriously said, don't you ever talk to anybody about this. They would think that you're crazy and, you know, you would be put away, you would be locked up.
Nadia McCaffrey shut herself off from the world. Life on Earth was not enough. She longed to return to the heavenly creature bathed in light. At 17, she decided to try. Her first suicide attempt failed, but shortly afterwards, she tried again.
When I reached this light, there was no one there, no beam of light. Just the white light. And I hear this enormous voice, like a thunder, coming from everywhere, but nowhere. Kind of coming like this, saying, you cannot stay here. You have not even begun your work yet. Oh, I thought to myself, here we go again. So I am very feisty and I argue with everything and everybody. I wanted to argue with this voice, but trust me, you don't argue with that voice.
Nadia obeyed the voice and came back to Earth. When she woke, she was alone. The doctors had left the room, pronouncing her dead.
But after this happened, I understood that, this was not a good idea. They don't want me. So I just have to be here, find my mission, do what I have to do, and I will never attempt suicide again. It's useless.
So she searched for her mission. She married and moved to San Francisco. In her 40s, she discovered what she had to do: help terminally ill patients come to terms with their own mortality. 25 years after her own near-death experience, Nadia has found peace.
We have duties. We all have a mission. The point is to find what this mission is.
Susan Blackmore's quest to understand her experience eventually led her to study the brain. She accepts people believe their impressions, but now can offer rational explanations.
When your heart stops working and the oxygen stops getting to the brain will rapidly use up what little oxygen it's got, and all the cells will start malfunctioning in different order, the smaller ones going first and the inhibitory systems going first. And then during this process there'll be a lot of random firing of cells, because if the inhibition stops, lots of cells start randomly firing, get all sorts of strange things happening.
Dutch neurologist Thomas Lempert's research is taking him into the same field.
We made a young and healthy test person faint in a harmless way. Hyperventilation means breathing deeply while crouching down.
Lempert's main focus is on epilepsy, which includes the effects of oxygen starvation on the brain.
And then standing up quickly and pressing against the closed throat. That's enough to make a healthy person faint for a short moment, about 10 seconds.
Many of the guinea pigs report experiences that sound remarkably similar to near-death experiences.
One of them woke up and opened his eyes wide and said, "This is unbelievable." He then explained how he saw a flood of pictures all in a row, all with the feeling of being light and floating, and amongst his friends. He didn't want to leave. Another test person told us that it was wonderful. She didn't want to come back, really. And she thought that if she died right then all would be well.
As the body's systems shut down, lack of oxygen and blood flow causes the brain to release a flood of chemicals. One of these is the neurotransmitter glutamate, which can cause overactivation of cell receptors, leading to cell death. Other chemicals are released to fight this, and a side effect of this chemical intervention is an altered state of consciousness. A substance close to these transmitters is the anesthetic ketamine. Tests on rats have proved that ketamine not only causes hallucinations, but also slows down the dying cells of the brain. In humans, it can produce all the features of an NDE. The ketamine model of the near-death experience is being studied by Dr. Carl Janssen from the Royal College of Psychiatrists in London.
What is likely to be happening during a near-death experience is that the brain activates its own mechanisms and releases a number of substances that are neuroprotective. They protect the brain cells from damage due to the low oxygen, the low blood sugar. Under those conditions, they protect it from damage. They bind to the same receptors, to the same place that ketamine binds to, and as a byproduct, they produce the psychological state, which is known as the near-death experience.
So are near-death experiences the brain's furious struggle for survival?
That theory answered a major question that the sort of pro-lifers, as they're known, the people who believe in life after death, were always putting forward, which was, well, what is the evolutionary purpose of a near-death experience? Why should you be capable of this? And I would say, well, you're capable of this because it's a byproduct of the brain protecting itself from damage, and you would absolutely expect the brain to have mechanisms for protecting itself from damage.
Dutch cardiologist Pim van Lommel is challenging the theory of the dying brain. For 13 years, he studied over 300 patients who had suffered heart and